No, your eyes are not deceiving you, and it is about 1:30 in the morning, and I am Jen Harris, the lead admin for the Ideal Fire Starter, the imagination behind I Breathe Fire, and I also freelance mentor my baby writers as well through JB Harris Writing Services. Now, I know I haven't come in for you all in some time because I've been actually doing other things and writing and trying to be a mama, a wife, and a daughter, and a friend. But tonight I was compelled to come in because of a nurse's tweet on Twitter. Now, those of you who know me in real life know that I am the daughter of a nurse. My mother and my godmother actually met at Homer G. Phillips Hospital here in St. Louis, Missouri, and it was through the power of their friendship that here I am. And she met my father there also, who was actually doing his surgical residency at Homer G. Phillips Hospital. There's your Black history for you. Black hospitals, Black doctors, Black nurses matter. Black patient care techs and CNAs matter. With that said, the tweet this morning, the nurse, for obvious reasons, did not identify where she was at. But what she did say was that she had been a nurse for about an ER nurse for about 22 years. She said the situation at her particular hospital, again, for obvious reasons, she did not give the location of said hospital. She said that she has had patients that are on vents, four or five patients on a vent and on ventilation machines, aka a vent, on her shift. Now, most nursing shifts are about 12 hours. She said she's been doing like 14-hour shifts. Management has had to come down and be boots on the ground. She's saying that she has found seasoned nurses crying in storage closets. I cannot stress to you, those of you who follow this page, follow any of my other social media, I cannot express to you how serious this is. Dearest ones, my fellow oracles, my torches, y'all have to understand this is bad. This is bad. And it's going to get worse before it gets better. Now, I know that you all come to this portion of the internet to get your Black girl magic, to remind you of your black boy joy, to be confident in your melanin magnificence, and just be aware of who you are as a human being. But I'll be remiss in my duty as an admin, as a writer, as an artist, as a person walking around on planet Earth to not remind you that the time you are living in is unprecedented. There is no rule book for what we are going through. The one thing I am going to remind you of is this. Now, those of you who have followed me for some time know I am not a fan of the current administration. I snap out about it constantly. The one thing I will tell you, as trying not to lace this entire tirade with epithets, but I will tell you this. Are you happy? For those of you who said, to choose between the lesser of two evils, and, this is, and my dearest cousin, who I will not name here, only because I love him that much, he said that he couldn't vote for Hillary Clinton because he thought what she did was illegal. Now, with that said, this is what we have. This is what we have. This is what we have, and this is where we are. The Buddha says it this way: there are three things you cannot ignore: the day, the night, and the truth. The truth is that we are in a situation as a country that we as the people put ourselves in. What does that mean? That means that we had an opportunity not to elect this man, to say that this is not what we want, but a majority of the people fell for the okie doke. Just flat out fell for the okie doke. There were people who were so intimidated by a woman possibly being president that they couldn't handle that. Not on the heels of a black man being president. There were people who were so angry at how they had been done time and time again that they just thought they would vote for Donald Trump and thinking that he wouldn't win. There are people who stayed home because they're mad that Bernie wasn't on the ballot. And then, Bette Midler had the nerve to get on Twitter and say that, well, if more black people had voted, this wouldn't happen. And my superhero, Roxane Gay, told her, don't put this on black women and don't put this on black folk. We ain't finna carry this water. Let us not forget, it was over 50% of white women who voted for this man. And now this is where we are. This is where we are. This is exactly where we are. And on some end, we deserve to be here. Why? Because we came in league with this. Now, again, because here we go, and I have my Amazing Spider-Man shirt on, so I feel my help. So here we go. I need y'all to understand that just because you are a believer in Christ, that does not negate your common sense. Now, this man is saying that we need to have the country open by Easter because, it'd be a great time and if churches be full, forgetting the fact that we are in the middle of a pandemic. What does that mean? That means everybody who is not immediately in your house may have come into contact with this. This means all the country stuff, quote unquote, that our grandmothers who are melanated or may have grown up in rural communities, all that stuff you made fun of her doing growing up because you didn't think it made sense. You have to draw on that. I remember my grandmother, she believed in bleach, Lysol, and ammonia. I remember when cold and flu season came around and we were at her house, she put a cap full of Lysol concentrate in our bath water. And we never got sick. I have found myself in the middle of this pandemic remembering everything that I saw her do. Because now it's essential that I remember that. Now, again, when Ebola hit, when President Obama was president, was it horrible? Yes. Was it scary? Yes. But it was nothing like this. It was nothing like this. And then what wise leadership does is put things in place so when people who come after them can benefit from their wisdom. Now, I could go ahead and say, was it real racist for him to say the main unit that President Barack Obama put in place so when something else akin to Ebola hit or would affect the country, there will be already a triage team, as it were, to go ahead, figure out what's going on and warn the nation. He knew about this in January. It is now almost April. We as a country are now 45 to 60 days behind the rest of the world, and the people who have to treat these people, the nurses, the doctors, the techs. Let's not even get into the other allied health staff, the people who have to do EKGs, the respiratory therapists. We're not even get into them. The attendings, the medical students. We're not even get into the whole medical family. The CMTs in some cases, the people who pass medicine in these long-term care facilities and rehab facilities. We don't even get into that because this is bigger than that. What I am going to say is because we have leadership in power now, who refuses to acknowledge reality, this is what's going on. This is what is going on. Now, my other writing she wrote, Toni Morrison, said that writers do their best work in the dark. And I have been writing like mad. I have been blogging and emailing and talking to people, getting my crew together and sounding every alarm I know to sound. And as the daughter of a nurse, to hear Lindsay, I took 2 weeks off and I came back to a check and a job. Graham say that, nurses make between $15, $16 an hour. Pause. No, they don't. Graduate nurses make about that much starting. We're not even talk about how nurses make their money through skill and experience. So for him and Tim Scott and the other dude looks like Voldemort say that they didn't want to sign on to the stimulus bill because they didn't want people to think they can make more money on unemployment than to work a job. Think about that. Most nurses, the nurses that I know, make between 20 and 30 an hour. Again, this is based on education. This is based on skill. It's even based on floor sometimes. But nurses and techs work as a team to take care of people. So it's not just nurses getting exposed to this. On top of the regular ER patients that come through every day. On top of the regular sick patients that come in every day. What I need y'all to understand is, as my father would say, now you know what you got. This is where we are. This man is incompetent. And because Congress is so on the take, I said it, I don't care what Zuckerberg do. Congress is so on the take that they will not check him. Checks and balances no longer exist as long as somebody getting paid. Somebody need to write that down. Checks and balances no longer exist when somebody's getting paid. The one thing I admonish you all to do is keep paying attention. You know, the hustlers I grew up with would tell me the game always tells on itself. If you know what and as the urban prophet T.I. said, if the con is good, I ain't supposed to see it. I see this. Even today, Governor Pritzker of Illinois said that they don't even have enough vents. They don't have enough ventilators, the machine that helps people breathe, to take care of the people who could potentially get sick in this state. And then the orange mad titan want to come out and say, well, you know, we don't need to give them all that. I need y'all to understand how bad this is. I need to tell y'all I need you to understand how bad this is and how scary this is, that this man is seeing seeing the nation on fire and is playing a fiddle. And he's playing a fiddle, much like Nero. At last count, Louisiana is running out of ICU beds. That's bad. There was an outbreak of coronavirus in Florida because people couldn't stay off the beach. That's bad. Dr. Anthony Fauci, one of the doctors that helped to lead the nation through the AIDS crisis, is face palming. You have to see how bad this is. And how people say, oh, you know, they just souping it up and it ain't really that big a deal. Okay. As my mother says all the time, if you don't listen, you'll feel. Right now, there are 1,000 people who have died from this. And we're not even a clear 30 days in yet. And we have about 40,000 cases. And if Italy be the barometer, there's at least going to be 2,000 people to die before something happens. And I know that's kind of doomsday and kind of a conspiracy theory, but no, that's actually going toward epidemiology and me knowing public health and me working in this field for almost a decade. I cannot stress to y'all how bad this is and how if you don't take this seriously, your family could be next. Now, the blessing of the Lord maketh rich and addeth no sorrow. We know that. As I said on Twitter tonight, I am a respecter of the power of God and medicine, and I also have a good Christian dose of common sense. If the competent medical professionals have said, look, in order to keep everybody safe, stay away from other folk. Stay in your house. Wash your hands. Don't let your kids go outside for real. You know, we've had to do it old school. Whenever one of our kids come in, we make them change all their clothes, wash the clothes in hot water, and make them take a shower. Whenever one of us go outside, we change our clothes, come in. You know, we wipe down stuff with bleach because bleach kills everything. Again, going back to those things that my grandmother did that kept us all safe. But y'all, I cannot stress to you all that this is not a game. That this is not a test. This is not God punking us. And please stop saying that this is a plague from God and that this is, stop saying that. Stop saying that. I am of the wisdom of Bishop Jakes that God know how to get our attention. And now God has our attention. If you listening, God has our attention. Because all you have now is time. And let me say this. The people who you haven't really heard a lot from are Tommy Lauren, Kellyanne Conway, and all these evangelical preachers who were in league with this man to get him elected. I said in league. Yes, I did. I don't take it back either. You haven't heard anything from Dr. David Jeremiah. You haven't heard anything from Bishop McClendon. You have not heard anything from Jennison Franklin. You haven't heard anything from these people because you want to know why? Because it's getting real to them now. You haven't heard from John Hagee. You have not heard anything from them because it's getting real now. As old folks say, it's getting real now. And all this time is self-quarantine. All this has done is prayerfully give you time to reflect. I hope it has given them time to reflect and really think about what they have come in league with. You had a pastor in Louisiana outside of Baton Rouge. There's 1,000 people that got together and said, oh, they're not going to stop us from worshiping God. This is not an attack on churches. This is certified, proven health professionals saying, look, for right now, you need to minimize contact with people because people can be asymptomatic. People may be carrying. We don't know what's going on. So in order to keep you and your family safe, minimize your contact with the outside world. That's not devastating. As Charles Blow said, my ancestors came here on a boat with no sunlight for weeks, trying not to down their own vomit with little food or none, and still made it. I can be inside with Netflix and snacks. This is nothing. And I agree with him. But y'all got to begin to see game for what this is. Y'all got to begin to see game for what this is because now it's apparent. Now it's apparent. Now it can't be seen as a liberal hoax anymore. It's not a Democratic talking point anymore. There are people dying daily. There are people dying daily. There was a man in Kentucky who tested positive for coronavirus and did not want to self-quarantine, and he had to have police presence for 24/7 for 2 weeks because he couldn't follow instructions. Which then goes back into the greater problem of the American economy and how the American working class is basically has to put blood into the machine to make anything work. He probably couldn't take off work for 2 weeks. And that's me being devil's advocate right quick. Maybe he couldn't take off work. I want to believe that rather than just believe he was just a jackass. But the game is afoot, Watson. The game is afoot. And if you are paying attention, you know exactly what it is. The fact of the matter is, for someone in such a prestigious position, like being president of the United States, one would think that he would have some kind of moral compass, some type of intellectual curiosity, some type of depth of character that would warrant him to do something about this. That you would think that he would have since some of y'all who will probably come past here and try to troll, since some of y'all believe up down and sideways and left to Egypt, that he knows God. I beg to differ. I think the only God that he has ever read is on the back of money. I think the only Bible he has ever read is non-existent. I think that the evangelicals have been deceived, and now you are faced with something that is so radical and so widespread that all you can do is go repent. I said it. Because some of y'all who are pastoring these churches in perhaps the American South, who swore up and down that he was the second coming, prayed for his success, touted his talking points to people, said that Hillary Clinton was evil and that a woman shouldn't be president, touting this same tired Second Timothy dogma. That is real now. There was a pastor in Virginia who died today, who said that when he went from Virginia to New Orleans to do his Mardi Gras revival, he thought that the media was souping this virus up to more than it was to try and shame the president. And he's dead, and his wife is very ill also. You also have the couple that drank the malaria solution because he said that would cure it. So I just need y'all to know, those that voted for him, this is I hope you're happy, because this is out of control. This is out of control. And then to have put out the clarion call for retired doctors and nurses to come in because they know at least how to triage. I told my mother that. My mother said no. She had been a nurse through AIDS, Ebola, and H1N1. She said she wasn't doing no more. And now, you have medical schools who are graduating their doctors early because now you need staff. And nursing schools need to go ahead and follow suit. I go on record saying that right now the NCLEX need to be free. The NCLEX need to be free, or you just need to hire all these graduate nurses for on a specific time frame, and let them take boards after that, because now you need staff. And Indeed is blowing up my inbox for patient care tech CNA position because they need them too. But I just need y'all to understand the state the nation is in. So those of you that pray, continue to do so. Those of you who want to push positive energy to the medical community, continue to do that. But all of us need to register to vote. I want y'all to remember this. I want you all to make record of this, that this has happened on our watch. That this man whom y'all have touted as the second coming, who y'all have thrown away regular Jesus in favor of Republican Jesus, that y'all are halfway responsible for this. Because he has done nothing that he said he's going to do. And the fact that you all who voted for him and stand for him and rock with him, as the kids say, the fact y'all roll with him this hard, I need y'all to understand that some of this is y'all's fault. Because we try to tell you that this is not going to end well, right? As I said, and as I've said often, as I say over here about reading lists and keep your mind occupied and stuff in times such as these, because you can only watch so much news, right? You can only absorb so much of this insanity at one time. The one thing that I keep coming back to is Octavia Butler's parable series, one of them being the parable of the sower. Y'all need to read that. Read that. Because Octavia Butler wrote that in 1993. And it is now almost 30 years later. And that book is on point. I'm fond of saying that a portion of writing is prophetic. And she definitely was there. And it makes me miss her and her voice that much more. But the one thing, again, as I have to feel like I have to beat into y'all right now, is that we will get through this, but it's gonna be hard. It's not going to be easy, and it's gonna take all of us to do that. So again, my heart goes out to those of you who have not been deemed essential by the medical community. That but you have wives and husbands and children and bills and things that require that essential paycheck of the job you went to every day. And the fact that they had to fight, right? They had to fight about whether or not to give people who need help should tell you everything you need to know about this particular state of affairs of this nation. One of the social media comedians who I watch, aside from Show You King, is Kev on Stage. Kev on Stage said this, and I thought it was quite poignant. He said that this nation is a paycheck to paycheck nation. Because right now, the Cheesecake Factory said that they are not paying rent for April. Like basically telling people, I ain't got it, fam, and I don't know when I'm gonna get it, but when I get some, I'm gonna give it to you. But right now, I ain't got it. But the one thing I keep coming back to is the wisdom of my father that said in times where people are crazy and situations prove exactly what they always were, is now you know what you got. If he actually were to admit, if the Orange Mad Titan were to actually admit how bad this is, he would have to admit that he made a mistake. And the laws of white supremacy can't allow a white man to admit that he messed up. I said it, I don't care. Because again, Governor Pritzker is saying that the state of Illinois doesn't have enough ventilators. The state of Illinois, the state of New York says it doesn't have enough ventilators. The machines that help people breathe. But y'all look up what a ventilator is and what it does. They're saying that they are reporting, hospitals are reporting, not the media, the hospitals are reporting that they are running out of PPE, personal protection equipment. They want you to reuse masks and gloves in some cases. The thing that you were taught never to do. But if you don't have, you do best you can. Right? And now we find out that emergency responders, the incidences of them contracting this virus have gone up. Do y'all understand what you have come in league with? What you have put your stamp of approval on? Those of you who decide not to vote because Bernie wasn't there, or it's just going to be the same. Some of this is on you too. Some of this is on you too. And I can guarantee you that once all this is over with, whoever be the nominee, right? Whether that be candidate Bernie Sanders or candidate Joseph Biden, I can guarantee you, this is not gonna be like Ford and Nixon where Gerald Ford was like, look, he done so much crazy. All we can do is just sweep this mofo off the map and keep going. Because we can't even, if we delved all the crazy he did, we'd be here all day. I can guarantee you ain't gonna be no presidential pardon for him. I can guarantee you that. But I admonish you all to wash your hands, love on your kids, turn off the news, find something that you love to do, pick up a hobby, finish the book that you started. Start a book if you necessarily want to do that. I have services on JB Harris Writing Services. Come get your right life. The podcast I run, The Writer's Block, will teach you how to do all that. Get all your encouragement. I admonish you, if you have a spiritual practice, that you begin to do that and reacquaint yourself with it, because in order to get through this, we all gonna need an anchor, and we all gonna need an anchor. And if you happen to be looking toward this man to get one, you are sorely mistaken. But I guess when enough folk die, y'all pay attention. Y'all have a good night.